it's very important that before you buy your fruit trees, you know this one thing. Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Art of Creation Homestead. One thing that we love, okay, and this, when I say we, I mean me especially. We love apples, okay? Really, I love apples, but I mean, I eat like an apple nearly every day. We want to try and grow our own apples, and as you see, we're on our way. We've never successfully grown an apple off these trees. They had some small ones last year, but they weren't really good apples. And squirrels got them and whatnot too. But one thing that we've learned about them is pollination. How key is pollination? And we have those 3 apple trees behind us. We have these apple trees right here. These apple trees are planted in a muck bucket, okay? And we've also got a cherry tree, because I love cherries. And we've got more trees right here. We have 2 rabbits in our yard, 2 baby rabbits. But we have more trees here. These are necktots. These are more apple trees right here. We have peach and nectarine trees and another cherry tree. We have a lot of fruit trees. Reason being, we like to eat fruit. And I'd rather eat the fruit that we grow if we can successfully grow it. But as we went on our endeavor about what fruit trees are best for us and how do we grow apple trees and what do we need to do, what are the things, the points that we need to know, what are the things we need to know. The biggest thing about apple trees especially, but fruit trees in general, but especially the apple trees, okay, this is especially true for apples and pears, but any tree, they have to be pollinated, right? All fruit, all blossoms, fruiting blossoms need to be pollinated. Tomatoes, peppers, everything needs to be pollinated. But some things are self-pollinating, other things are not self-pollinating. What does that matter? What does it mean? Okay, long story short is pollination. We all know things need to be pollinated, right? But pollination is just literally transferring pollen from this to this. Very simple, and it's from a male to a female. It's like, and you see, that's actually the setup that God has created for all living things, right? Is to procreate, to produce more, to produce fruit, multiply. And this is part of it. And the main thing I want to tell you is why is that important, especially for apples and pears. And there are some others that are involved, peaches, plums, some of those need this as well. But apples and pears especially are not self-pollinating. And there may be a self-pollinating variety out there. I haven't seen it. So it's very important that before you buy your fruit trees, you know this one thing. You know that your apple, if you buy one apple tree, you need a second. And that second apple tree needs to be blooming at the same time as the other apple tree. Your apple trees have to be blooming at the same time. You can get 2 apple trees, but there are various points in the year where they might bloom. They might be separate. For instance, like a Granny Smith. I don't know this for sure, but a Granny Smith might bloom in May, whereas your Honeycrisp might have bloomed in April. Well, they can't pollinate each other because their flowers aren't open at the same time. So a lot of places when you go buy your apple trees, they will tell you what is a good pollinator for that apple. So in other words, if it tells you it's a good pollinator for that apple, it means they're supposed to be blooming at the same time. And the same goes for pears. Now, it would be okay if like you had a neighbor that's fairly close by, or like even within like I think they say maybe like a mile or half a mile. I forget how close it can be, but if you have somebody close by who also has an apple tree or pear tree or fruit tree that you're needing pollinating, who also has that same kind of fruit that's blooming at the same time, because then bees will actually can carry that far. A bee can get on that one and then come over and get on yours, because bees do travel quite a bit. But it's very rare. It's very rare that you actually have somebody close by that can pollinate. And if you live near like an orchard, then you're probably going to be in pretty good shape. But like for me, I don't live near an orchard. I don't know anybody who's got a tree, apple tree that is. So I had to buy more apple trees. Darn. Hate it. Hate to see it. I had to buy more apple trees. I had to produce more apples. It's terrible. Obviously, I'm being sarcastic, but they had to be pollinating it. They had to be blooming at the same time, so I had to buy a pollinator. And like I said, they'll tell you. And if you can't find which is a good pollinator, just buy a second tree of the same variety. They're gonna be blooming at the same time. But why is that not true for a cherry tree or for some of these other trees? For instance, this cherry tree right here. This cherry tree has all these blossoms all over it. But it's okay, because something can go from here to here, and this is pollinated and back to here. So self-pollinating means that blossoms on the tree can pollinate itself, right? So it's very simple. Self-pollinating. I don't need help. I'm producing more than enough for this whole thing, or you know, the female and male can cross like that. Whereas apples, pears for sure, some peaches and plums, and other stone fruits like that maybe. But some of those are going to need a pollinator. And if you're buying from a reputable source, they're going to tell you if you need a pollinator or not. It's going to say self-pollinating or pollinator needed, something of that nature. Like Stark Brothers, I know, is really good about it, and they will tell you what you need. But rest assured, it's going to need pollinating of some kind. So just be sure that before you buy your apple trees, before you buy your fruit trees, that you do understand you're going to need a pollinator, and it's going to need to be blooming at the same time. It's very important that they bloom at the same time, okay? So that's a really quick, short video for you today. Just really, and hopefully it helps you along the way. Again, my name is Jason. This is Art of Creation Homestead. We love you guys. God bless you, and goodbye.